10 crazy knockouts.
Oh my!
Caught him with a spinning back kick. He's hurt.
He hurt him big time.
He's
trying to
real
finish.
bad.
It is all over. Headed for remains the UFC.
Seeing two people throw punches and kicks at each other is fun to watch, and we, the audience, personally enjoy it a lot. But on the other hand, in the no-holds-barred world of mixed martial arts, a knockout is the only acceptable outcome that every fighter wants to achieve as quickly as possible. But did you know that perfect timing and brute force combined with the awe and surprise of a face-first collision can be thought of as an art form? And the result is in effect known as the Slam. Well, today UFC Slam is going to present the collection of the top 10 craziest knockouts in UFC history, and it'll definitely make your head go boom. So let's begin, and before we do, please subscribe to our channel and enjoy our video. And boom! Here are some of the most impressive knockouts in the history of mixed martial arts. Crazy knockout number 10, Chuck Liddell KOs Tito Ortiz at UFC 47. The extensive build-up to the Liddell vs. Ortiz fight at UFC 47 made this fight at that event even more of a spectacle. After going back and forth with one another for an entire year, the two finally came to an agreement to fight in the light heavyweight division. Early on in the second round, Liddell asserted his authority over the fight by pressing Ortiz against the steel cage and then unloading a barrage of punches on the head of his opponent. Liddell earned knockout and the victory by finishing Ortiz off with a flurry of uppercuts, jabs, and punches that were simply too much for Tito to handle. And seriously, this fight was worth watching for the audience. Now our next knockout at number 9 is from UFC 193 when Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey.
I say right on. Ronda did not come out.
One of the most surprising fights that year was when Holly Holm took on rowdy Ronda Rousey, and that was one of the most anticipated bouts of the year. Even though Rousey was the prohibitive favorite to win against Holm, the preacher's daughter never lost confidence in her ability to win. A specialist in boxing, Holm eliminated Rousey's greatest strength, which was her ability in judo, by keeping Rowdy on her feet and forcing her to fight with her fists. Holm is taller and rangier than Rousey, and after a few punishing boxing combinations that left the normally dominant Rousey bleeding and disoriented, Holm finished her off with a furious left kick to the head that flung her onto the mat and brought the fight to an end. Rousey came away from the fight with a bloody and broken face, and invincible Ronda suffered the first defeat of her professional MMA career as a result of Holm's victory. Oh, that's too terrifying and sympathetic simultaneously. Hence, can be said, a lot of records were made in this fight. Up next, knockout number 8, Phil Baroni KOs Dave Menne at UFC 39. Baroni, also known as the New York Badass, defeated Dave Menne in a middleweight fight that took place at UFC 39. Baroni finished the fight in a relatively short amount of time. Within the first 18 seconds of the fight, Baroni aggressively closed in on Menne and punched him in the head, which forced Menne to get up from the cage and continue the fight. But that wasn't all he did. Within a matter of seconds, Baroni landed 5 more shots on Menne's head before the referee declared him the victor. And as unforgettable as his victory was, the celebration might have been even better. Moving on to number 7, where we find the matchup of Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva, where Weidman KO'd Silva at UFC 162. Weidman and Anderson Silva's main event at UFC 162 lived up to its billing as the night's most anticipated bout. Silva entered the octagon on that night with a perfect record of 16 wins and 0 defeats, which was the longest title run in the organization's history. The Brazilian fighter was attempting to showboat his way around the ring in the hopes of luring the undefeated Weidman into a corner. On the other hand, the All-American Chris Weidman made the decision to put a stop to it. Silva was able to avoid a couple of Weidman's punches, but in the end, Weidman's left fist caught him on the chin, and the Spider was knocked out of the fight. At number 6 is the fight at UFC 126, where Anderson Silva KO'd Vitor Belfort.
Left by Anderson Silva. I mean, that's just a Silva! Are you kidding me?
During his middleweight bout against his former training partner Vitor Belfort at UFC 126, the Spider utilized all of his senses to his full potential. Silva knocked out Belfort in the first round with a flurry of punches after knocking a well-timed kick to the face of his opponent in the opening round. Belfort was knocked out as a result of the kick. Although it was the punches that put an end to the fight in the technical sense, it was Silva's incredible kick that put him out of the fight. So at knockout number 5, we have Rashad Evans KOing Chuck Liddell at UFC 88. During the first round of the fight, the two competitors engaged in a back-and-forth exchange. However, Sugar Evans was able to score enough shots to start breaking down the Iceman's composure. By the second round, Liddell had relaxed his guard and become more aggressive, to the point where it was detrimental to his performance. Evans was backed into the cage by Liddell, and just as Liddell was about to strike with his right hand, Evans threw a quick left jab and followed it up with a booming right hand that landed squarely on Liddell's chin. Liddell was knocked out. One punch was all it took to bring the Iceman down. Up next is when Matt Serra KO'd George St. Pierre at UFC 69. That's crazy knockout number 4.
St. Pierre is buckled. Serra is going for unbelievable. Serra buckles St. Pierre. St. Pierre down again. Serra is trying to upset St. Pierre.
In this fight for the welterweight title, the Terror did not back down despite the fact that he was significantly outmatched on paper. After knocking down St. Pierre on the edge of the octagon with a hard right fist, Serra leapt onto his opponent and hit him with a barrage of punches until the fight was called off. This continued until the referee stopped the fight, and Serra won the welterweight title with a knockout victory over the heavily favored St. Pierre at UFC 69. When this happened, there was a clear shift in the power dynamic in the division. Number 3, Dan Henderson KOs Michael Bisping at UFC 100. A lot of trash talking occurred between Bisping and Henderson leading up to UFC 100. On the other hand, Hendo chose to let his fist do the talking for him. Henderson landed a furious shot that put Bisping out of commission, despite the fact that Henderson is 8 years older than Bisping. In a move reminiscent of those seen in Mortal Kombat, Henderson dove at Bisping in an attempt to finish him off. However, it was completely unnecessary because Bisping had already passed out before he even got onto the mat. Now our second knockouts from UFC 52, when Chuck Liddell scored a knockout victory over Randy Couture. At the time, the Iceman knocked out his rival, Randy Couture, with one decisive blow at UFC 52, which is one of the most anticipated events in the history of mixed martial arts, particularly due to the fact that Couture had previously knocked out Liddell in a fight. On this occasion, however, it was up to Liddell to exact his revenge. After the referee called a timeout because Couture said he had been poked in the eye, an aggressive push from Couture forced Liddell to fight on the defensive. However, just a few moments after connecting on a few punches, Liddell snuck a perfectly placed right jab into Couture's chin, which resulted in Randy being knocked out and Liddell winning the UFC light heavyweight title. And the top crazy knockout that we cannot exclude from the list is from UFC 194, when Conor McGregor KO'd Jose Aldo. This fight between Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo in 2015 is one of the primary reasons why McGregor has become the most famous fighter in the history of the UFC. After deflecting a kick from McGregor, Aldo lunged in and attempted to get the position. However, the Notorious connected with a lightning-fast left-handed cross, which put Aldo down for the count. The total time of the fight was 13 seconds, making it the quickest victory ever recorded in a UFC championship bout. So, fight fans, it's time to wrap up today's video. Please let us know in the comments section which knockout you like the most. And also, I'm curious to know how many of these fights did you watch? Have you seen all of them? Have you seen some of them? Most of them? None of them? Hey, if that's the case, you need to really look for these, because we just gave you the tips to the greatest KOs and craziest KOs in UFC history. We appreciate you hanging out with us today. Remember to subscribe to our channel and like and share our video, and make sure you hit the bell icon to stay notified of our latest updates for you. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.